Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to WOR, and I'm back here again on Monday nights after missing last week, and I'm also back with Miles. But last week, the championship was decided, probably the wrong time for me to be off, certainly, but obviously outside Obviously, commitments obviously kept me from it, but we are back. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to World Online Racing. We can confirm, of course, that Antoine is the official World Drivers' Champion. Of course, he's been absolutely brilliant all season long. And Miles, what a fantastic season it's been so far, but it's not over yet. 2 big races remaining, but we're going to start it tonight at Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, definitely, and welcome from my side as well. Good evening from my side, and yeah, Antoine wrapping up the title last week. So yeah, title sealed. So everyone can go full send. That's basically what the 2 remaining races are about: Abu Dhabi and Brazil. We're starting Abu Dhabi, which is a very, very interesting track. We will get into that detail a bit later on, but yeah, just looking forward to it. And today will be a bit of a different vibe, I would say, because we not only have Tier 1 drivers, but we will also have Tier 2 drivers, and the also crowned Tier 2 champion, George.
Yes, we will. We got AMS Placky with us, of course, who is the Tier 2 champion, as Miles so eloquently put. Of course, this is a great opportunity tonight, guys, obviously, for certain drivers who have yet to compete, certainly in the top tier or in other tiers, for example. And they can come here today and try and lay down a foundation, or at least see how they compare with some of the best drivers or some of the competing drivers from Tier 1, of course. Going into next season, there will be, of course, a new game. I suppose you could look at a new game in a sense that it has almost new regulations, new rules come in, new developments, certainly concerning the tyre modules and, of course, the damage module and many other things as well. So these drivers now are looking to put something in place in order to be considered for a top-tier spot next season. So this is a great opportunity for them to certainly go out on a limb here and try and really certainly show the world what they are all about. And we're here on WOR here tonight at Abu Dhabi, usually the finale at Yas Marina, but tonight it's the second to last race. And certainly this track, I have to say, it's absolutely stunning, of course. Construction costs over £800 million, folks. That is how much this circuit costs to build. And that, of course, capacity 60,000 people. And I have to say, owned by the government of Abu Dhabi, of course. It's their pride and joy, and it brings F1 here every season, of course. We're looking forward to seeing what it's all about tonight. A lot of these drivers will be hustling and bustling their way through the lines of turns 1 and 2, through the first sector of weaving bends, before they make their way down towards turn 7, out of the Ferrari World hairpin, and bombing it down the long straight where the speed trap will meet them just before turn 8. After that, you've got another chicane and another straight before you find your way through the winding sections of Sector 3. But obviously, some of the fast movers at the moment, Antoine picking up a win last time out, indeed, Miles, and certainly he has been mightily impressive this season. Certainly with those wins on the table, 5 wins already accrued this season. Can he make it 6?
Yeah, that's a big question, and yet to be answered. I mean, he has 2 chances to make it 6. So I'm pretty sure he will hope and aim for that. But there are the likes of Ronha, for example, who also did a very, very strong race last time out. So did Dace Rhombus, who picked up a podium, picked up P2 because Ronha got a penalty in the end, and yeah, only got 3rd. But a very, very good fight between Ronha and Antoine up until this point. But also the likes of Viper, who is yet to win a race, although he was technically in the championship up until the last race in Austria. So there are so many drivers that don't want Antoine to win another race and want to win their races as well. I mean, Ronha picked up 2 wins out of the last 4 races, and surely he also wants to win this race as well. But yeah, there's so many drivers that also want to win this race. So it will be a tough task for Antoine. But I mean, I don't know how much he practiced. That is also a big question because the drivers, like, the game is fading out, the season is fading out. Antoine sealed the championship, so the pressure is off for him. So I mean, he can relax. But on the other hand, I'm pretty sure he's a racing driver, so he wants to win every single race he's participating in.
Yeah, absolutely, Miles. I mean, I just want to look at this on paper as well. Huge battle still underway for P2 in the championship, of course. Not forgetting the likes of Ronha, who is still in the fight, of course, for that P2 spot. He is currently in P2 as things stand on 115 points. But in behind him, not too far back, 25 points behind, in fact, is that man Viper. And arguably quite possibly one of the more consistent drivers this season, always in the points. It just happens to be the case that Ronha has scored more victories this season and certainly scored, well, he scored more victories, that's for sure. I mean, he's had 2 next to Viper's mere 0 victories, but nevertheless has scored more podiums nevertheless. Viper scoring 1. Remember, he got P2 at Bahrain, but he's going to be coming back here today looking to go certainly a little bit better. And certainly you fancy Viper to do just that. He is that extra bit consistent, isn't he, Miles?
Yeah, he definitely is. I mean, just look at the points he got. He never finished outside of the points this season, so definitely one to watch as well. Pretty sure. So he picked up only 1 podium though, George. So I'm pretty sure he wants to aim for something else and actually get a podium. So he's Mr. Consistent throughout the season. The only guy actually to, yeah, like you said, score a point in every single race, at least 1. At least 4, you could say, because he got 8th once this season, and that was his worst result. But there are so many others, like Antoine, who only didn't score in 1 race, which was Silverstone. So yeah, definitely a very interesting, a few very interesting drivers we have here today, and yeah, really looking forward to what all the tier 2 drivers can do as well, because like you said, AMS Placky, who won the title, he wants to challenge, and he also wants to win this race, maybe, if he can, because he also wants to show himself on the big stage here today.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is exactly what we're looking for. Is obviously these new drivers that are coming in here today from the likes of Tier 2, looking to try and challenge the top drivers. And certainly, if you're going up against someone like Antoine Desilewski, there is no better occasion to do it than right here at WOR. Of course, Antoine Desilewski is obviously part of Comrade Gaming, of course, a very highly reputable team, very well known throughout the sim racing community, and that's not me being biased because I'm part of the team, but still at the end of the day they are much like many others that are at the top of their game. But Antoine Desilewski, of course, a hat tip for potential F1 esports in the future. Very talented, and has actually performed in the highest level on PC as well, with the likes of Jana Watmir and, of course, the likes of Nicolas Longue, for example, many of them all competing in the PSGL PC Championship that I covered this year. And Antoine gave a great account of himself in that series. And, of course, I know that he's going to make that big jump to PC now, of course, when WOR moves to PC next season, as well as PSGL. So we got lots to look forward to heading into another new season. But this is all about seeing the new blood that's coming through here tonight. And we get to be first witnesses to what's going to happen. And certainly, with some of these drivers, they may be tier 2 quality, but that might not tell the whole story. Remember, these guys have been practicing all year long. There's a huge difference in these drivers compared to where they were at the start of this season to where they are now, Miles.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, we're coming to the end of the game cycle, and that is actually the point where all the guys are the strongest. It's building up from the start, and then coming to the end of the game cycle, you will just get better. And that is what those guys are showing week in, week out. That's why, for example, AMS Placky won the Tier 2 title. Coming into this race, he can show himself. So, like you said, this young, fresh blood coming in here into Tier 1 and just trying to show themselves and trying to prove that they are worth of a Tier 1 seat maybe for next season. So, definitely something to look for. And yeah, finally, we're loading in. And when I look onto the right-hand side of my screen right now, there's so many drivers that I haven't seen race for a long time that are here, that are usual, the Tier 2 drivers. For example, Dark Killer we have, and a few other, yeah, quite familiar names, I have to be honest. So really looking forward to what they can do. Full grid, which is always phenomenal to see.
Yeah, full grid. Not to mention, even though the championship, as we said before, has been sealed, Miles, but obviously we did hint at that P2 battle, of course, with the likes of Ronha and Viper going for that at the moment. Both of them are in this race here tonight. So we've got that, and of course the abundance of new drivers coming through. So it's always exciting when new drivers come in, because you just simply don't know what they're all about, do you? And this is exactly what we want to see. New, fresh faces who could surprise you on a race weekend.
Yeah, exactly, and that is what we're aiming for here. And we're just curious to see what they can do. I mean, like, I don't know if you're already showing the screen. You're not. So, but there are so many drivers that are in. There, like half of the grid, like Car Person, Amos Blackie we mentioned a couple of times now. Wexrow is in here. I don't know if was Matthew Reese, because I know that he's in TSRL Tier 1, but I can't remember if he was in WR Tier 1 last week. Then we have Sync Jonah, FRA Blackie, VSG Noam, and Darkiller 99. So there's so many drivers that are coming in. And yeah, just can't wait to see what they can do. As Sparks is the first one to actually head out on track, and yeah, will take us onto a ride around a very overcast, I would say. I mean it's quite difficult to see, but it's quite overcast if I'm being honest. So is there rain coming? I don't think so, but very dark, I would say.
Yeah, well, this is the first time we've seen Sparks, of course, since the Dutch Grand Prix at the Netherlands, of course, at Zandvoort. So he's making his return here tonight in the Haas car, of course, making his way out the chicane, down out of turn 9, around turn 10. And he's going to take that semi-straight now down towards turn 11. And certainly the Haas man is no stranger to being at the top end. Can be a little bit unpredictable at times, but nevertheless a very good driver, very quick. And if he can certainly get it together, he is a very formidable force. He is known to be right in the mix, does not mind a scrap, likes an overtake. And I tell you what, you wouldn't want to be the man meeting this guy, because he certainly is a very good quality driver and has a lot more to come. I can certainly imagine from Sparks. But he's going to be the first man to nail a fast lap, certainly on this grid order. Naturally, the first laps tend to be a banker. They'll try and get a banker on the line first and then try and improve it. As Car Person immediately retires from the session. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Of course, it was showing him on the intermediate tyres, the only driver to do so. But nevertheless, no longer competing here in qualifying. So that does mean that there's going to be P19 and upwards that we will be filling at this stage, as we now watch Sparks make his way around turn 1, heading through turns 2, 3 and 4, and making his way down towards the next chicane as well. And now coming in through that chicane, the Haas certainly trying to light things up here. And we'll certainly try and strike an in position on the rest of this grid order. And what a scalp it would be for this man to take top order as he makes his way down the stretch now. Heading down towards turn 8, speed trap will become available down the back end. The DRS is open there on the rear wing of the Haas. In the background you can see a Red Bull. Not quite sure if that's Antoine or if it's Dark Killer, but they're making their way now down towards the next left, heading through turns 8 and 9. And how important is it to get those chicanes right, Miles? Because they can make such a difference to your lap time.
Yeah, especially, I mean, not only in qualifying, but also in the race. If you mess up those two corners, especially the second part, turn 9, if you mess that one up, as Sparks just invalidates, and we will come to that a bit later. If you mess that up, you give the guy who's sitting behind you a very good overtaking opportunity, because it's so vital to actually nail that corner. And but it's also very difficult, because if you have to be very precise, because if you hit it a bit too much, the curb will spin you out. So that's definitely something you don't want to do. But Sparks just wanted to come into the pits and overstep his mark, as Antoine also coming into the pits. Yeah, very vital, George, to conclude. Very vital is that turn 9 exit. And yeah, you have to be really careful, because turn 8, probably your first overtaking opportunity on track. And then you can attack into turn 10. Once again, so yeah, turn 9, the exit is very vital. Maybe going for a switchback even and having a better exit, but that is something we will see once the race comes. But also, of course, for qualifying, also very vital point, because you can lose so much time, but also can gain so much time at that particular corner.
Absolutely, and 3 chicanes as VRT Danny goes off the track there as well. Luckily saves it from going into the barrier. VRT Alfie, though, his stable companion at VRT in the top order, though, holds on to P1, and Ronhar has slipped behind him into P2, and you got Rozzy there in P3, and that's 2 Tier 1 mainstays now lining up in behind Alfie there, as WOR Raceway heads up into P1 as well. We just saw his compadre, or Haas compadre Sparks, boxing earlier on. We were watching him on the opening fast lap as Viper is out on a lap as well. Mr. Consistent, as we call him, making his way down the stretch, goes into P1 there with a 132.371, and with over 12 minutes remaining, a good place to be, certainly for that man in the AlphaTauri. And I know he's looking for an improved performance here tonight. You certainly wouldn't count him out. Representing the Scuderia AlphaTauri team, Viper, a man on a mission tonight, Miles.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just putting his car into provisional pole position is very, very good for him. And just giving, like we so often say, week in, week out, we just say, if you nail that first lap, and that is definitely not a bad lap by him. To nail that lap, you just have the security of having that banker time in, and just trying to improve, and that's what he wants to do on his next runs. I'm pretty sure he will go out at least twice, maybe just aborting his laps and maybe going out a third time if he has the time to do so. But yeah, that's definitely a very respectable time, and I'd like to compare it, like I so often do, to Ronha, because Ronha did a 32.6, and he's 3/10 clear of Ronha, and that is definitely an achievement for the banker lap. But we will see. Times might be tumbling, and yeah, times might not be as fast as the drivers want them to be, because like I said, it's not the best condition like you would expect, as Danny has the same issue he had on his lap before, losing the back end there and nearly going into the wall once again. So very, very unfortunate for Danny, but I'm pretty sure he has to come into the pits, fit another set of tires, and then go out once again. Currently sitting P10 with a 53.9, so definitely not a competitive lap time. Is he coming in? No, he's still staying out, missing the apex on the final turn ever so slightly, now coming across the line, 32.9. And I would say he definitely lost at least half a second at that turn where he just overstepped the mark.
Yeah, not a bad driver at all, VRT Danny. Of course, a couple of errors now have impeded his hot lap, though P7 he remains for the time being. I actually had the pleasure of commentating one of his hot laps around Canada, and we certainly had a lot of fun with that. He sent me over some content, and I very humbly obliged to add some vocals over the top for it, and released it onto the YouTube channel as well, which I have to say was he was absolutely chuffed to bits with. I have to say, we had a good chat, and he seems like a great guy, and certainly if he can put some laps on the board, it would certainly go a long way to try and hammer home an advantage on this grid order. Viper still on top though. His stable companion VSG Gnome in AlphaTauri making his way down towards the next left-hander. Of course, very shortly he'll be making his way around Sector 3. There you can see the AlphaTauri now making its way around the next left, around turn 19, very shortly around turn 20. And we'll certainly want to join his teammate Viper up in P1. If he can land the AlphaTauri on the front row of the grid, that would be a huge benefit. But of course, he's one of the new faces that we're seeing on this grid order here tonight. So plenty to prove from this man as he makes his way out of the next left-hander, now powering down towards the next right-hander. Heading around the final corner now at turn 21. What's it going to be for VSG Gnome? No, he's going to box into the pit lane. Not happy with the lap time set. Maybe an invalidation there, Miles.
Yeah, there was an invalidation by him on the penultimate corner, just going wide, just a tiny bit too wide, and then invalidating his lap. And yeah, invalidations, we will see them a lot. I mean, just look at the grid. We have 10 we are halfway through this session, and we only have 10 drivers having settled lap time, so 10 drivers haven't. I mean, car person retired early on, but you will get my point. So track limits are a big thing around here, as Matthew Rees making his way through the corner, where Gnome just invalidated. Now coming across the line, 32.4. Good enough for P2. Very respectable time there by Matthew Rees. But yeah, George, track limits, especially at the entry of Sector 3. I think that's the big talking point in this race, because you can invalidate either on the right-hand side, then on the left-hand side, and then on the right-hand side again if you go a bit too wide. So 3 very, very crucial and yeah, avoidable corner cuts or track limit warnings. So I'm pretty sure we will see at least 1, 2, 3, 4 drivers get at least 2 penalties here today.
Yeah, I think so. Certainly Sector 3 tends to be the worst for it. Of course, when you head around the final few bends, you tend to find that the drivers are there pushing, trying to get as much delta out to the final sector as they can, and that's generally where you tend to find them slipping off track, because the grip levels around that sector of the track, regardless of how warm your tyres are, certainly a treacherous location at this circuit. And of course, it's given the temperatures of this place, you know, certainly Abu Dhabi, known to be in the desert as such, but certainly it does get humbled by the conditions of rain sometimes as well. So you have to keep your eyes open and peeled for that. We did speak about it being overcast at the start of the qualifying sessions. Now Antoine is about to cross the line now, and he goes to the top end there. P1 a 132.338. And that's just under half a second away from Viper. So in that context alone, Miles, you got to give Viper credit. That earlier lap, naturally now, if he pulls off the same kind of lap this time, you'd have to say, by certainly track generation, it's going to go his way, surely.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I meant with getting a banker lap in. And now, if we compare that one to Antoine's time, we just see that lap was a very, very good one. So if there's room for improvement, like you just said, then he can at least go 1, maybe 2 tenths quicker on his next lap. 7 minutes to go, so he can go around on his lap as he just starts his. I think yes, he does. Now into turn 1, and yet let's just follow him. I would say through those very, very yet different 3 sectors we have. A very, very high speed one. Sector 1, then we have the 2 straights divided by that chicane we mentioned earlier, and then we have that very technical final sector where you have to be really careful with. Yeah, also, I mean, you were just talking about temperature, and you also have to be very careful about your tire temperature, especially in the 3rd sector, because tires tend to overheat. At least some do. Really depends on your driving style and on your setup, but you have to be really careful at that. So yeah, Viper, but for now, I think he's doing a good job there. Maybe going a bit wide there for my liking, opening up the DRS now, sticking all the way on the inside to the left-hand side then, and now letting his car, his AlphaTauri, go to the right, and let's just see, 74,000 in front of his best time. But yeah, the 3rd sector, like I said, it's the technical sector. It's now Ronha goes to the front with a 31.9, so the first 31 we've seen here today, but Viper is trying to also improve on his time. And yeah, that's the sector he's just in. That's the sector where he can lose so much time, but also gain so much time. So let's just wait and see what he can do compared to his 3rd sector on his previous lap. Now coming into the final corner, hitting the apex nicely there. Running out of ERS though, coming across the line, 32.0, but that's very, very close to Ronha's time, 30,000. 300ths of a second behind Ronha. That is definitely a very respectable time here.
It certainly is, but I have to say it's 5 minutes remains in the session. There's going to be plenty of candidates looking to park their car at the top end. We've still got quite a few drivers still yet to submit lap time. Sparks being one of them, and of course you've got WOR Connor, Gnome as well, who's in the pit lane, and Dark Killer, the other Red Bull, at the back end. But Red Bull doing okay right now. They have got their man Antoine, the drivers' champion, of course, here in WR Xbox, currently lying in P3, and he's going to go out for one more run, you would reckon. It's currently in the box at this moment in time. Viper, of course, making his way, or certainly solidifying that P2 spot with a 132.023, just off the cusp of a 131. Of course, Ronha, as you said, Miles, the only driver in the 131s for the time being. VRT Danny is out on track as well. WOR Connor as well, so they'll be looking to improve nonetheless as they make their way down their respectable laps. Wexro also out and about, makes his way into the pit lane, however, and he opts to come in. AMS Placky as well, Tier 2 champion, making his way across the line to commence his fast lap now. Let's see what the Scuderia Ferrari driver can do. He comes into turn 1 and tries to hightail the Ferrari now out into turn 2 and 3. As he does so, wants to try and cling to every curb, every apex. Now around the next left-hander at turn 4, heading down now towards turn 5, breaking into the chicane, almost attacking it head on. That is what you'll find a lot of the drivers doing, and I don't think they'll get away with it, certainly on the new regulations of car that come out in 2022. Of course, the new car shapes coming out, the new tyre compounds as well, the new tyre specs. It's going to make all the difference to Formula 1 racing when we get to that point, as well as the Ferrari now makes its way down the stretch towards turn 8 into the next chicane, heading into turn 9 as well. Speed Trap has been unleashed at that part of the circuit, now heading down out of turn 9, out of turn 10 now, and rushing towards turn 11, where they'll come into sector 3 proper. And here comes Placky now, looking to do the business like he has done all season long in Tier 2. A 1:33.918 is what he has banked, at least for now. He's got the certainly the lowest time on the board at this moment. That's times registered, to say the least. He's currently in P16, but we have got drivers that have yet to venture onto the circuit. Makes his way now around the next right-hander, of course, heading into the next left at turn 18, round turn 19 now, and after this one he'll be heading down towards turn 20. 2 corners remain on this hot lap. The Ferrari now hustles and bustles his way around turn 20, around turn 21. The Tier 2 champion looking to try and do a number here in Tier 1. P9, he goes into the top 10, a 1:32.661. And just over 0.6 of a second, near 0.7 of a second slower than Ron Hart, his teammate. But nevertheless, he's in the top 10 miles. Not a bad start.
Yeah, definitely very good start there for him. I mean, just trying to show himself. That's what he's doing here right now, and that is a very respectable time coming here. I think he also is a bit not really on his main game. Maybe a bit of pressure putting on himself, just coming into this league and just trying to prove himself. I can imagine that's not really the easiest thing to do, and so. Yeah, doing a good job there, 32.6, and yeah, I don't think he will have time to go for another lap, but so 9th will be the best starting position for him, but there are so many guys out on their outlaps. Corner is the only guy, yeah, in the pits at the moment, so is Car Person, of course, because he retired, but Antoine is on a lap. Matthew Rees also did his lap, doing a 32.0 as well. So, yeah, very respectable time by him as well. So, yeah, Antoine is up by 11 thousandths of a second in the first sector, but the first sector, yeah, are only like 3 corners. So, can you really count them? I don't think so. 1:16, 1:15 on the board. So, everyone who just came out of the pits really has to hurry now. Antoine might get a bit of traffic when it comes into the 3rd sector, so he has to be really careful, opting to start his lap quite early on there, George. And I hope that doesn't fire back once he actually comes into that 3rd sector.
Yeah, of course, all the traffic is going to be reasonably congested. Matthew Rees is actually retired from the session. Now, you've got to wonder whether that is a sensible thing to do, whether he crossed the line and he could not find an improvement. That's probably the case. And already the traffic coming through. VRT Danny just getting out of the way there of Antoine. Of course, Antoine looking to try and tip the balance in his favour. Of course, Ron Hart on top spot. 1:31.993 to beat. The only man, as we've said before, in the 1:31s. Can we see yet more drama at the end of another qualifying here in WOR, here on the Xbox Tier 1 tier, as we make our way through the final couple of bends. Antoine Desaluski looking to tip the scale in the Red Bull's favour. Can it give him wings as he crosses the line? He can! Up to P1 with a 1:31.983. And what a way to end his qualifying session. It's not over yet, mind. Ron Hart is still out and about. So's Viper. Plenty of drivers who can easily upset this one.
Viper is up by 8 thousandths of a second in the after the 2nd sector split, so he's opting to go a bit faster than he did on his previous attempt. But just look at how close it is between those 3 guys, 400ths of a second between Antoine and Viper. So and Matthew Rees is not far behind either. So very, very close between those 4. As Viper messes up the corner there ever so slightly. Now into the penultimate corner he goes, really throwing in everything he has. 3rd gear, 4th gear now onto the start-finish line, and he goes into P1. Is there something Rona can respond with? He's up by nearly 1.5 tenths there, so there's definitely room for improvement for him. Can he make it though? Because that 3rd sector, like I said, there's so much time to lose, and going a bit deep into that corner there, that could cost him at least 1 position, going a bit wide there. And is he overdriving the car there, George? I'm not quite sure. Coming into the penultimate corner, going not too wide, but going a bit wide there for my liking. Now into the final corner, he goes a bit sideways and only going P2, so it cost him definitely. Viper taking what should be pole position here, George.
Yeah, phenomenal performance here from Viper, and I have to say, probably one of his best qualifying sessions to boot this season. Amazing stuff there from the AlphaTauri on the top end, and that is where he will need to be. He is potentially on for a season best result here at Abu Dhabi. Ronha in P2. He'll be up for a fight as well. The two Scuderia cars up on the top end, of course. Ferrari in P2, AlphaTauri in P1 with Antoine just stuck in behind. This is teed up, Miles, to be a fascinating race, isn't it? I mean, with Viper on top order, Ronha, Antoine, the top three in the championship, all in the top three places. It's magic, isn't it?
Yeah, phenomenal to see those three up top, but I have to say, it's a bit unusual to see Viper so far up the order. We remember him from all the recovery drives he did, just going through the field at every single race he was doing this season. So seeing him start way up the order and in P1, what can he do? That is the question I'm asking myself. What can he do if he's starting on in P1? I mean, he has the likes of Ronha and Antoine behind. They won't let him go, but very, very good lap time there by Viper. And I just can't wait to see what he can do. But there are also so many other fast drivers. I mean, just look at Matthew Rees. He's also not that far off. Like I mentioned earlier, he's not that far off. And we will have the top 10 starting on the soft tires. And then it will be a question, what will all the others do? Because you can actually do a one-stop, medium to softs. You can do that. But it's a very, very long stretch.
Yeah, well, all the drivers in the top 10 within 0.9 of a second of each other is sensational. But Viper, Ronha and Antoine are your top three heading into the race, folks. I hope you all enjoyed that qualifying session. It was absolutely unbelievable. I have to say, it never ceases to amaze us, folks. We really do enjoy bringing you the action each and every week here on WOR. And I hope you guys in the chat are okay as well. Please, obviously, leave a message in the live chat and say hello if you haven't done so already. We want to hear from you. Give us your predictions as well as to what you expect to see at the start of this race. Obviously, it's a fascinating encounter we're going to witness here. Top three in the Drivers' Championship, all meeting on the same, in the top three places on the grid. You just cannot write it, folks. And on the front row, Viper with a season best qualifying session. In behind as well, Ronha alongside, looking to get his third win of the season, and Antoine in behind, looking to get his sixth win of the season. Massive hello there to Wigo Vakuri as well. Big hello to everybody. Ethan Barnacle is there as well. Win Ron Harch as well. TSR Maurice, Ron Hart, Viper, and Joker. He has gone for a little bit of a hat tip there for the Joker. Of course, let's hope that Batman doesn't take him out this time. And we got WR Troy saying, hopefully Viper can win this. I think Viper has certainly got a lot of love, a lot of support, certainly in the fan base. And it's going to be very interesting. And hopefully we get to see some interesting stuff here tonight. But just from you, Miles, what are your thoughts on this race now? What will you expect heading into this race?
To say, I have to agree a bit with Troy there. I have to say, I hope Viper can win this race as well, because he's so far up the order in the championship, and not having a victory, I think that hurts him. So he's putting the car in pole position. So I will go with Viper here for the race victory. And I will actually have to say that Ronha will come home second and Antoine will come home third, because I can't just see them changing positions that many times. But maybe there will be someone from outside the top 10 who actually will make their way through. So we never know. Last week we had Dace Rhombus, who's starting P16, making his way up into P2. So there's always time for a surprise, and I wouldn't mind having a surprise here today on the podium.
Not at all. Absolutely. But we're going to head on and join the cars now down on the grid for the formation lap. And there you can see Viper there in the AlphaTauri, loving life right now. You can certainly get used to this moment, being on the front row and in P1 on the grid for the start of this race. Obviously, we'll be bringing pedal to the metal very, very shortly. And of course, so your tip is Viper there, Miles, I'm going to say. Obviously, looking at some of the other runners in behind as well. Matthew Rees, a very interesting prospect as well. Not to mention, though, some of the others. VRT Alfie looking quick in the initial stages of qualifying as well. He was on P1 for a little period of time, as well as plenty of others as well. AMS Placky in the top 10 in his first visit. Actually qualified higher than Flying Rozzy, of course. Flying Rozzy is naturally has been a tier 1 mainstay now all season long. So AMS Placky getting ahead of him. Now that's a big statement to make, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's always good to see. AMS Placky making his way into P9 and just trying to, or just showing some of the guys that are full-time drivers here in tier 1 how it's done, why he's the tier 2 champion. But curious to see what he can do. Just quickly have a look at the at the tire situation. So everyone outside top 10 opting for the medium tires, apart from Days Rhombus, who actually opts to start the race on the soft tires. So maybe just going for a bit of a different strategy. Curious to see what he will do, but 28 laps, George, anything can happen here tonight.
Certainly can. Viper is taking his place on the front row of the grid. And I hope you're all enjoying this at home, folks. Please don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe as well to the World Online Racing YouTube channel. It's been a pleasure to bring you all the action all season long. We've only got 2 races left in the championship, and those final 2 races start here at Abu Dhabi. Here we go for the lights. Bit of a delayed start here, folks. We will bring it to you very, very soon. I can assure you. We just wait. Here they go. 3rd light, 4th light, the 5th light. And it's pedal to the metal. Go, 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 go. And Viper off the line like a shot. In behind there, Ronha has to settle for P2 around turn 1. In behind Drama. Dominic moves his way down. He actually loses a spot. Matthew Reese losing a spot. Dominic attacking the racing point. Taking the outside line. Heading through the first few. Ben, superb there from Dominic. Owns that P5 move and makes his way up further in the grid. Sorry, P4 as they make their way around the Ferrari World hairpin. Further up as well. Antoine, Dominic looking quick in behind as well. World Online Raceway, they're in P6 as well. Alfie in P7. Joker in P8 as well. Placky holds on to that P9 spot. Rossi in behind him, but Viper is in front. Ronha just could not get off the line quick enough.
A very good start there by Viper, just making his way into turn 1. Basically, there was no one challenging for him. So a very, very good start there.
Bit of a move further down, sorry to interrupt, but Placky now looking all over as Rossi overtakes the Ferrari of Placky. Just couldn't do anything to stop the McLaren, just overtaking him here in lap 1. But as we now reach, oh my word, a bit of collision there. Gnome there lost a little bit of his end plate. He's lost some of his front wing there. A little collision, and it's teed up this little fight in behind as well. There you can see Placky and Car Person, they're coming together. In behind as well, Dace Rhombus coming into the fight, but Car Person holds on to that P40. The Williams has lost a bit of front wing as well. Scenes here on lap 1 as they're all coming through. Sector 3 now, and still Car Person trying to whittle his way through straight through the bends here in Sector 3. Manages to get ahead of Blackie and Days Rhombus, but damage applied to those cars in behind. Not a nice way to start their race.
Yeah, and you never want to start your race with a bit of wing damage. And there are Noam and Darkilla are into the pits. Don't know what happened to Sink Jonah there. Just looking at the places he lost 4 positions from the get-go, as I think, the standings are just going crazy once again. So we will wait. So once everyone just done the first sector, we will have, normal standings, you could say, as Antoine's looking very, very close, at least, on the left-hand side. He's not that close, like it's saying for me, under 0.2 of a second. But definitely looking feisty, and Dominic has his hands full to do to actually stick with them. So he has to be really careful just to not use as much of his battery like he's doing right now, down to 50%. Just looking at all the others, they have a lot more to play with. So definitely something he has to look out for. And but on the other hand, he definitely has to stay with them. So he has to throw in everything he has. Curious to see what he can do, but moves further down the grid. I think Dace Rhombus just overtaking FRA Blackie there. 4P14 has to make good use out of his soft tires. I don't know if that was actually planned, the strategy he's doing, or if that's basically forced, because he just couldn't change. So we will have to wait and see for that. But just look at the front. Viper's trying to check out already, George. So just underlining what he did in qualifying. Yeah,
and fastest lap to boot as well, Miles, here on lap 3. The DRS is now going to be enabled. As you can see in the bottom left, race control have enabled it. Antoine now making his way around and getting closer and closer all the time, you feel, behind Ronha. He's main consistent between 3 and 0.2 of a second in behind the Ferrari. So any moment now, we could see those two dueling out on track, as they have done plenty of times on many an occasion this season. Ronha, of course, the sole contender for the championship, heading into the last few races now, but Viper in front. And Miles, I've got to quiz this with you, because of course this is where Viper is most dangerous, isn't it? Because his qualifying pace is extraordinary. So you get to wonder, when he's in clear air, is that where he's at his best? As Ronha goes for a deep dive there with a lockup.
Yeah, Ronald, I don't know if he touched him. I was following Antoine. Oh, you were also following Antoine, and now there is a chance for Antoine to actually go in front of Ronald, pushing his ERS to the maximum. And what can he do? Ronald defending to the inside. Antoine trying to go around the outside there, side by side between those two. And they're coming into this next left-hander, and Antoine, brilliant move there by the Red Bull driver, and going in front of Ronha. Ronha seems to be struggling, and in all of that, yeah, okay, I was just about to mention Viper making it out of the DRS, but he's just, playing ping-pong with the gap at the moment to Antoine. But, just to answer your question, I would think, Viper showed how good of a race pace he has throughout the season. So you have to imagine if he can just maintain the pace he has, and he's shown in qualifying, then he's a serious threat here for the race win. And Antoine, I think, noticed that and just tried to get in front of Ronha. Did that and is now behind the race leader here, Viper, and maybe able to put some pressure on him, as Ronha is really struggling. I wonder if he has a bit of wing damage from touching the rear end there of the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, it could well be. And certainly when you get a bit close, you can obviously not see the damage visually on the front wing of the car, but certainly the drivers will get a little bit of a notification on their MFD that there is a little bit of orange, maybe a little bit of discolor there on the radar, as we're now watching the two McLarens hightailing it down the straight. Rossi getting very close to his teammate Joker, and no team orders being applied just yet. Joker seems very content with holding on to P8 right now, and is trying to chase Alfie currently, heading out through the chicane. There you can see the cameras there, the two McLarens making their way through this grid order. We've also got WOR Connor coming in behind there as well, but we got some movements there further up as well, as Matthew Rees got hammered a blow there with Alfie, who certainly managed to hang on. And Alfie once again looking for WOR Raceway as they making their way up through the next chicane. And certainly it certainly has been a very excitable first couple of laps. We've been watching all kinds of duels behind out on this circuit, as now we're seeing Dominic fall away from the top three drivers as well. And that's certainly, as you said earlier, Miles, not the place you want to be. As soon as you lose DRS around a track like Abu Dhabi, that's it as far as it's concerned. You're not going to get much closer without having DRS.
Yeah, you really have to hope then that the drivers in front of you are starting to battle, and I could see that happening with the top two drivers at the moment, because Antoine is trying to put the pressure on Viper. Don't really know if he can hold Antoine behind him, because Antoine, we've seen some. I mean, he's champion for a reason. So if he wants to get in front, maybe Viper won't even hesitate to let him through and just try to stick with him and in the DRS, because that is also a very, very crucial point around here. Just having your ERS and just be able to stick behind him. But Antoine not really putting on the pressure, and something happened to Matthew Rees. That's why he is a bit more far back. Is Antoine trying to go for a move? He's thinking about it, showing himself, going down the inside there, and now going for the switchback. I mentioned earlier in qualifying already, George, going for the switchback out of turn 9, and now it's very difficult to defend that, and very intelligent done there by Antoine. And Ronha is trying to get into the fight as well, going right outside, but outbraking himself and robbing himself of the opportunity to actually get in front. But Viper seems to be struggling right now, and Antoine trying to salvage something from that and going out of the DRS already.
Yeah, not a great visit for Viper. Antoine taking advantage, moves his way up into P1. The Red Bull overtaking their AlphaTauri counterpart, certainly part of the Red Bull family, but nevertheless, no friends here at Abu Dhabi as they come through now the final sector of lap 5 of 28. Antoine on top spot, Viper in behind, licking his wounds slightly, but Ronha is going to try and stick the knife in yet again as the Ferrari makes its way down towards turn 1. He wants to get close, he wants to seek redemption this time on Viper, but Antoine doing exactly what he's been doing all season long, trying to break now the DRS on Viper, and certainly that's not what Viper needs right now. He's going to be under a lot of exquisite pressure, and Antoine very rarely makes a mistake as they come through the next chicane now, and certainly Ronha himself is going to want to get closer as well. Dominic, though, looking very dangerous in P4 and potentially might yet get a podium himself. He's still very much on the cards here, Miles. They make their way down the straight again, and this time DRS will be activated this time. You can see that Antoine trying to break the slipstream between him and Viper right now as they make their way towards the next chicane. In behind, Ronha trying to get closer and closer, does not want to lose the rear end of Viper there, but drama here already in the first 6 laps of this Grand Prix. You love to see it, Miles. Miles, are you there? We seem to have lost.
I misclicked. I was muted and misclicked. It's a very crucial point of the race now, George. We're on lap 6, so the pit window is open for the medium tires to go for the 2-stop. So now is the question: when will the first guys come in, go for the 2-stop? We don't know it yet, because some guys may even go for the 1-stop I mentioned a bit earlier. So you could go for the 1-stop softs to mediums. But with the used set of soft tires, that is very, very difficult to manage, because you will lose out in the end. Is someone going into the pits? No, they're all staying out. So yeah, maybe they will go for the 1-stop, which I would actually expect so many drivers to do. I would love to see their tire wear, because I mean, tire wear is not the biggest issue around here. It's more the tire degradation that is hampering those guys, and we will see that with the lap times coming in. And just having a look at the first lap time Antoine did.
Sorry to interrupt, Sparks getting very close to VRT Danny. It looked like we were going to have an overtake there heading into the next chicane. The Hats is all over him here, though. Diving down the inside of Ferrari World Hairpin. Absolutely sensational. And Sparks, letting the sparks fly, overtakes the Mercedes of VRT Danny. How often can we say a Haas overtakes the Mercedes? But this time we can here at WOR. Only at WOR now, as we make our way down towards the next hairpin, into the next chicane, should I say. And Sparks holding on to that P11. Connor trying to get ahead of Flying Rozzy, who holds onto that P9. Remember, those two came to blows earlier on, but Connor not able to make a difference in that situation as they make their way now down towards turn 11, heading into turn 12 at the chicane. And a phenomenal effort there from Sparks. He stuck to the behind of that Mercedes, managed to get the move in the Ferrari World hairpin, and opened it up, heading down the stretch out of turn 7. What a maneuver.
Yeah, definitely very brave maneuver, but Danny also playing his part in there and just leaving the door open. I think that was a very crucial part of that overtake as well, and I think Sparks realized that as well, saying thank you to Danny, weaving on the straights, and because they are both in a very good position here, George. They're in P11 and P12 on the alternative strategy, and is there someone coming in? Still not, no one's coming in. There is. Flying Rozzy is coming in. Sparks now has to manage his ERS, maybe just harvesting a bit, sitting behind corner. I mean, of course, he wants to make quick work, like you mentioned at the start of the of this broadcast. But maybe just staying behind, maybe just harvesting his ERS, and then just trying to leapfrog Connor. Although Connor is a bit struggling at the moment because the guy who was between him and Joker is now gone into the pit, and Sparks going down the inside once again. Very brave maneuver there, but Connor is also on the medium tire, so I misjudged that as well. They're going side by side now onto the straight. Who is coming out on top, going into the next corner, turn 8, and I think it might be Sparks. Although Connor now trying to have a look down the inside, but yeah, thinking better of it, and Sparks into P9, and I think might be the leading medium runner right now. Yes, he is.
He loves that hairpin, Miles. He loves it. I have to say, he seems to have an affinity with the Ferrari World Bend and already managed to utilize it twice to his benefit. But brilliant showing there from Sparks to certainly rise his car into the top 10. He's now beginning to land an attack on many of the drivers here on this classification, so we'll have to keep an eye on him as he makes his way through the latter stages of this race. Dominic getting close to the Viper as well. Big hello to Matty1929 in the chat as well. Hello to you too as well, mate. Pleasure to have you on board as we're now watching the top 4 make their way around the final sector, being closely pursued by Raceway as well in P5. Alfie is not out the question either as they round the next right-hander. They continue at the top end to stay out and go again for another lap. Remember, the pit window lasts between certainly laps 7 and 14 in order to get onto the medium tyres. So brace yourselves, folks. We're going to be in for a hellacious ride as we now watch these cars make their way through Sector 1 now. Antoine leading the way. Ronha in P2 after dispatching Viper. Viper holding on. Dominic in behind him, also having a look here on the AlphaTauri. Viper looks like he might be struggling. The fangs are out as Dominic once again goes hunting. Might get a chance this time, heading down the long straight out of the Ferrari World hairpin. As we now watch them now, DRS will open up. It's easy pickings. He sees it. He certainly does send it. It's Dominic down the outside in the Renault car on the inside, heading down towards the next left-hander. Raceway trying to utilise the toe here on Dominic in mind as well. Rises up through, could not get it, but Viper with the overcut. Strikes when the man is down. The AlphaTauri retakes P3, but it's not over just yet. Dominic retakes it back in behind Raceway, coming to join the fray. It's a three-man swing here, a three-way dance. Dominic with the final blow, heads through Sector 3 into P3. Majestic. They dance around the circuit of Yas Marina. Superb stuff.
Yeah, brilliant move there. Brilliant overtake there by Dominic, and there was a bit of a collision further down the grid. Alfie, I think, was collected. So was Matthew Rees. So very unfortunate for them. But yeah, Viper is struggling, and that's what I meant with the one stop being a very, very difficult to manage strategy. And I think now Viper is really, really struggling. Just looking at the lap times he's done. So his first lap time was a 37.422, and his last lap time was a 41.1, and the previous one was a 39.9. So he's really, really struggling. We also have to remember he's on the controllers, he's on the pad, so he might be struggling. What I meant earlier, for tire temperatures in the third sector, and that's what could hamper his chances.
Oh, Sparks!
And Sparks going down the inside once again, so he's picking up another place at that hairpin, going down the inside of Raceway, who also seems to be struggling on those soft tires, and then going down the inside on his teammate, side by side between those two, and there's Viper as well, and can Sparks find a way around Viper here, trying to do so, but Viper pushing him onto the apex. Now with the switchback, no, not really a switchback. Sparks losing the back end, and is Viper in the wall? No, he's not. Viper hanging onto the back of Sparks, but Sparks really muscling his way through there, and into P5 he goes, and now Connor is getting in the fray as well, so Viper is losing time, hand over fist here, and really has to consider coming into the pits, fitting another set of tires, and then going to the end.
Yeah, I think he has definitely burnt them out. Remember, he was pushing at the very start of the race. In behind, though, Danny coming into this race as well. This contest in the midfield is certainly starting to kick off. Raceway managing to get the deficit back on Sparks and certainly retake his teammate. It'll be interesting to see now whether he does box on this lap. I know a lot of the pit boards were out and about heading into that last race. Is he going for the undercut? Ronha is going for the undercut. Interesting test of strategy here. Dominic's doing the same. Raceway's in as well. Sparks up into P2 and makes his way around now in second place, chasing Antoine. 4 seconds the delta between the two of them. Connor in P3, but he's outside the second gap crucially, and that leaves him open for VRT Danny to make a move as well, as they now make their way through sector 1 yet again into the next chicane certainly. But Antoine now needs to try and really push on this lap. He needs to box. I would imagine he's going to box on this occasion, but he needs to get through on this lap and utilize whatever he has left on those soft tires, Miles.
Yeah, I think the only reason why Antoine didn't come into the pits was because he was afraid of the guys who were also coming into the pits behind him, and him getting held. So maybe because just look at the left hand side, he's the only guy on the soft tires who hasn't been into the pits yet. So he will definitely come into the pits at the end of this lap, as now Ronhard going in front of Joker. Just look at where Joker was before the stop. He has done an undercut, and just look at where he is right now. Rossi making the undercut. Placky, I think, going for the 2-stop, being on those medium tires for 5 laps now. As Raceway, we're finding his way around car person. I think we've lost him already. But yeah, curious to see where Antoine will come out in all of that, because the undercut is very powerful, especially on the 1-stop. And just looking at where Antoine will come out once he enters the pits. 2.5 seconds is the gap to Sparks. And Antoine, oh, I thought he was going to stay out, but he's coming into the pits now. And now is the crucial part of the race, George. Where will he come out compared to Ronha? And, I mean, Dominic is not that far off either.
Yeah, and here comes Ronha now overtaking Blackie. Blackie showing no contest there. And obviously a bit of traffic here for the Ferrari, but will it be enough to slow him down and allow Antoine through? We're going to rejoin Antoine now as he's just leaving the pit lane. By the looks of it, I think Ronha has got it in his favour right now, and Ronha should take the lead. He does! Ronha takes the net lead in this Grand Prix. While I say that, bear in mind, Rossi took an earlier pit stop. He is currently in front of all of these drivers right now, but can he get those medium tires tyres to the end. Placky as well. Remember, Tier 2 champion already has amassed 6 laps on his tyres, but he boxed due to damage, and now his teammate Ronha is looking to try and take a chunk out of him here. Will there be team orders this time? DRS utilised here by the Ferrari, overtaking his teammate Placky, heading down towards turn 8. It's too little, too easy, and Ronha takes it here, moves up into P6. Joker is well in behind after pulling together a phenomenal strategy, makes his way ahead of Antoine as well, and the Frenchman has got an awful lot of work to do here, Miles.
Behind Ronha, of course, behind Ronha, but also behind Raceway, Dominic, Joker, Placky, and Rossi. So he has a lot of work to do now, and that is the crucial part. I mean, I said that the only reason he was staying out was not to get held in the pits, but I think he lost out even more not coming into the pits and all the others being on the medium tires. On the other hand, he will have the freshest tires at the end of this race, so that could also play a vital part in his challenge. And just look at Viper. Viper's also in P12. He's behind Antoine, and now Connor coming into the pits. I don't know what that is all about. Maybe he's also going for a 2-stop here, although that is definitely not something I would have seen coming. Let's just wait and see what he will fit onto that racing point. He's going for a soft, so definitely a 2-stop race here for Connor. What can he do? I don't really think much, to be quite honest. Ronha is barely outside of the DRS now of Rossi, but now is within, so he might get the DRS down the first long straight, and then maybe can make work of Rossi on the second straight. But yeah, curious to see what Antoine can do. He's running very low on ERS. He has Raceway in front, who has a lot more ERS to play with. So definitely a tough task for our champion here, and currently sitting P10. So a lot of work to do for him, as there's a move by Joker on Amos Placky. No thought about it. Now trying to go for the under and over, and trying to get the better exit on the Ferrari. So just look at how much Ronha checked out on this lap alone. As now Joker trying to find a way around the outside. I think he has to go on Placky, and he's actually trying. And there's Dominic involved as well. Dominic going down the inside, Joker going down the outside. Beautiful move by Joker and Dominic there. And Placky losing 2 positions, make that 3, make that even 4, because Antoine is having a go around the outside. Raceway and Antoine going side by side into that very, very tricky hotel section there. And yeah, Raceway going a bit wide there, and now has to stick his nose out. Antoine making 2 positions up, and Placky really lost so much time, so much ground there, losing 4 positions, make that 5. So he doesn't even stop. So losing 5 positions in one sector alone, definitely not something you want to see. And Ronha at the front is just trying to get in front of Rossi, and not really able to do so.
Yeah, well, Antoine now, remember, making these moves. These are so important, certainly to his race. He's got Dominic dead ahead. Remember, Antoine has some of the youngest tyres. He does have the youngest tyres, certainly amongst the medium runners on the grid right now as he makes his way through the next chicane. He might go for a diving maneuver here on Dominic. No, not this time, but Joker in a lot of jeopardy. Remember, he looked really quick earlier. He utilised an undercut strategy upon everybody and managed to gain a lot of places, but now he's in jeopardy because here comes Dominic with a swift maneuver now. Takes the left-hand side in behind as well. You got Antoine watching this all occur, but Dominic too strong. Makes his way up into P6. Nothing the Joker could do about that, and makes his way up into P6. Does Dominic. Antoine, though, might want to have a go himself. Heading out now onto the next stretch. They all have DRS. Dominic, though, still holding on to that P6. He shouldn't have a lot of trouble here, or at least for now. Needs to close on Ronha ASAP. Ronha going through Singh Jonah as well, moving up into P4. He is now on the tail of Flying Rossi as Dominic now also goes ahead of Singh Jonah. They're all making way here as they're now watching certainly this Alfa Romeo getting in the way between all of these runners as now Joker tries to slide the way through, and this is what happens when you get congestion in Sector 3 on a circuit like Abu Dhabi. It can be quite trying, and automatically now Antoine managing to do exactly what the others have done and overtake that Alfa Romeo. But absolute scene so far in this race is Ronha now on the tail of Flying Rossi. Rossi, who outtripped all of these drivers. Remember, he boxed earlier on And in fact, he managed to utilize it to his advantage. He is now P3 on track. Bear in mind, Sparks and Danny both need to box as well. So we'll have to wait and see how Sparks gets on, because of course he's 2 seconds ahead of Danny. That's very crucial. And not to mention that makes him nigh on 7 seconds clear of Flying Rozzy as well. So the next pit stop that Sparks makes is going to be crucial. And you have to imagine he's going to have very nice fresh softs to see out the rest of this race. Sparks could be a very big danger here, Miles.
Yeah, in the end, of course, as Antoine now trying to size up a move on Joker. Joker, I think, doesn't want to leave him or let him go, but yeah, curious to see what Sparks can do, as now they're going side by side into that turn 8. Antoine on the inside, Joker on the outside, and I think Joker knows that Antoine is the faster driver, so might be even the smarter option to let him go and just try and defend from Raceway in that way, as now Ronha finally going in front of Rozzy. Yeah, curious to see what Sparks can do on those soft tires. I think maybe 2 laps to go, maybe 3, until he comes into the pits. Just remember lap 10, around lap 10 was when the soft tire starters came into the pits, so I could imagine him coming into the pits at the end of lap 17, maybe 18, and then he will be flying on those soft tires, especially on the first 2, 3, 4 laps, and yeah, then we will see where he can come out. He has that, yeah, unfortunately he has 1 penalty applied to his name, so that certainly won't help. But yeah, also curious to see. I mean, there's always a chance of a safety car which could throw things completely out the window, and yeah, which could completely shake things up. So curious to see what will happen, as Antoine trying to have a go on Dominic now as well. And I think Antoine really wasn't happy with where he came out of the pits after his stop, and now is trying to salvage some ground. He can see Ronha in the distance there, and now we'll try to make a move on Dominic as soon as possible to get into that net P3, because we have to remember Rozzy is also well within this race.
Yeah, well, Antoine wasn't the quickest out of the Ferrari World hairpin there, but he is trying to gain on Dominic, and maybe he'll save a move out of turn 9. It might be as simple as the setup isn't applied as well for cornering as maybe Dominic's is. Certainly Antoine tends to favour a lot more in terms of straight line speed, but he's very good in the corners. Do not ever write him off as DRS becomes active once again. Dominic does not have it. Antoine does have it crucially, and he has to get this move done ASAP as they come down towards the next bend. A late break, and Antoine looking in, but Dominic immediately shuts the door, does not let the Red Bull through. So once again, left frustrated. Antoine knows that while he's behind Dominic, it's going to cost him a lot of time, because Rozzy and Ronha are starting to pull away. Approximately 2.2 seconds the difference between Rozzy and Dominic right now, as Antoine coming around the final sector, right on the tail now of Shazoo Dominic, around the next left-hander now before they make their way towards turn 20. Needs to try and get as close to the rear end of Dominic as soon as possible as they make their way around the final corner here on their lap 16 of 28, commencing lap 17. It certainly has been an exquisite race, but I don't think we've seen the last of it yet, Miles.
Definitely not, as Ronha also picked up a very crucial penalty for him. I mean, Rozzy's behind him. He also has a penalty, so he also only has to manage the gap to Dominic, and now crucially also Dominic reached the DRS of Rozzy, which will certainly help him defend from Antoine, but Antoine looking very, very strong, really pushing his car, his Red Bull, to the maximum here, as I think Ronha is having a go on VRT Danny there, further up the grid. But yeah, curious to see what Antoine can do if he can get in front of Dominic, and Dominic really had to push there to get within that DRS window of Rozzy, and is now very close to him. Might even try to get in front of him on that second straight, which could also be very crucial for him. But maybe he just wants to use Rozzy as a bit of a ERS charger and just try to recharge his battery. Although he's going down the inside on Rozzy. Very late move there by Dominic, and Rozzy has to take avoiding action a bit at least, and now Dominic trying to go around the outside. Certainly not going to work, as Antoine trying to stick his nose into down the inside there, but unable to do so. Dominic weaving out of frustration there, and yeah, that is definitely not helping his race, but it is helping Ronha is doing Ronha a big favor here, as he's trying to get away from all of those guys. And yeah, Dominic in that third sector is very unlikely to overtake, but he has Antoine behind him, Raceway behind him, and Viper behind him. So if there's one mistake, there are so many guys that want to get in front. And now will there be a move down the inside into turn 1? And I think so, but Yeah, Antoine looking very strong and Dominic looking very feisty to get in front of Rossi here. And in all of that, I think now everyone came into the pits. So let's see what Sparks can do, George. He now came into the pits, lap 17, going to the end on those soft tires. So that will be crucial to see where he will come out.
Yeah, we're now back in amongst it. Certainly this fight, just look at it, nose to tail through the Ferrari World hairpin, and Dominic now with every chance to make a move here into P2. Rossi is in all sorts of jeopardy. Dominic down the inside there. Antoine in the midst as well. Does not want to miss out on all the fun. Here comes the Frenchman down the outside there and flying Rossi. He had no answer for him. The Frenchman strikes, so does Dominic. They're both up a place. Dominic up into P2, Antoine up to P3. Rossi losing out on 2 places, and now Raceway is going to try and land yet another blow. 3 in the space of 2 straights. Here comes the Haas down the outside now and against the next left. Antoine as well getting closer to Dominic. It's absolute pandemonium. Viper moves up into P5. The AlphaTauri landing yet another blow to the McLaren of flying Rossi. It's all coming into fruition now. Viper back in the hunt for this race. And remember, just look at him. He is trying to conserve at least a little bit of ERS. He's staying in tow of WR Raceway. Antoine himself as well also needs to try and at least try and load a little bit more ERS onto his system. But Dominic now in P2, he's going to be under a lot of pressure. This all worked out perfectly for Ronha, who is now 4 seconds clear.
Yeah, worked out beautifully there for Ronha, but Ronha has to maintain that pace because he has that penalty and the 4 guys behind him don't have one. So if they can catch him, there's a big chance of Ronha not even scoring a podium here today. So very, very crucial. And I think we both didn't have Dominic on our cards when it came to the podium, but doing a very, very good undercut there. Now finding himself in P2. So definitely a very good move. Is Antoine now going for it? I think he will, but Dominic might have the DRS of the Red Bull. No, he doesn't. There's a ghost car just strolling in front of him.
Here comes Antoine. Here comes Antoine. Yeah, he's coming down the outside now, heading down towards turn 8, and Antoine there in the Red Bull. It gives him wings. He holds on to the outside line and takes it, heading out of the chicane now, out of turn 9, and he's now in P2 and letting fly in behind Dominic with the DRS. He is running behind, got a lovely exit nevertheless out of the chicane now, and the Renault trying to challenge yet again, but not enough. Antoine does exceptionally well to defend the P2, and Dominic has got to just hold on and grin and bear it down in P3. But what a visit indeed, what a race, with still 9 laps remaining, folks. We do not want this to go away. The action has been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, drivers really delivering here today, and crucially, Antoine got the DRS off the ghost car of his teammate Darkkiller, who isn't in this race anymore. So that certainly did help him, but now Ronha has to be warned because Antoine is looking very strong, like he did the few laps ago as well. So Antoine now trying to bring that gap down, and Dominic trying to do everything to stay with Antoine. Yeah, not the best of exit out of turn 1, but he is within that 1 second window he needs to be in. Rossi now fitting the soft tires to go to the end, as I think there are some braking boards missing, which certainly won't help the drivers. But yeah, drivers really delivering here today. So many different strategies we have, and yeah, I mean, we're like you said, we have 9 laps to go here now, and yeah, will the tires last? That is also a big question. We saw Viper's tires drop off massively towards the end of the first stint, so the drivers have to do a lot of time, a lot of laps, a lot of kilometers on those tires. So yeah, it will be a tough task to actually make them go to the end, and yeah, just manage those tires, manage the tire temperatures as well, but not going too slow on the other hand. So definitely something we have to watch, and yeah, can't wait to see what will happen. Also putting my eyes on Sparks, 6.1 seconds behind Alfie, and Connor going for the 2-stop. He's sitting P7, and yeah, he will go onto the softs once again, so I don't think he will play a big part. Joker also dropping off massively into P6 there, so definitely not the race he wanted to have. But yeah, further up the grid, Raceway putting on pressure on Dominic right now, George. I don't see, I really don't know who will finish on the podium here today, besides maybe Ronha and Antoine.
Yeah, well, they're both looking very strong. Ron Haas, certainly with the 4-second buffer, is going to be in a great position at the end of this. Alfie now making his way up to P6, obviously due to Connor's pit stop. Joker joining him in the pits as well, in fact, boxing those 11-lap old medium tyres. He's going to go onto a set of fresh softs, and that's all going to allow Sparks to move up into P7. You have to give Sparks credit here. This is a very good performance, because remember, he didn't start very high up in this grid order, and he's really fought his way through. He's on 2-lap old soft tyres, and is now beginning to make his way around ahead of Danny, who is in hot pursuit, both of them on the same compound and making their way around in lap 21 in P7 and 8. Sparks actually managing to break the DRS gap now as they make their way down the stretch. So that's going to be very crucial for Sparks, because he can now utilize a little bit of clean air, a little bit of difference there with the DRS missing, and it's going to allow him to break clear of Danny that little bit extra, because he won't have that benefit of the aero heading down towards the next straight. So we have another retirement. Jonah retiring from the session. That's going to be our 5th retirement of this Grand Prix, as we're now watching Danny now pull back into the DRS. He's only just over half a second out of the delta gap between him and Sparks right now, but Sparks looking ever so quick. He's taken 2 seconds out of the gap between him and Alfie right now, and remember, those mediums, as they continue to go onwards, they're going to start feeling a little bit more slick and slippery, to say the least, and naturally this is what's going to cause all the hysteria and all the drama further up the grid order. Dominic managing to plug some of the delta gap between him and Antoine, but also coming into this is Raceway as well, who is in behind in P4 and looking to strike, and Viper as well in the midst as well, so do not forget about him. Remember, he was on pole at the start of this Grand Prix, as we're now watching Danny now exit the final bend in hot pursuit of Sparks. Now the second gap still being maintained. Sparks could potentially come out of the Ferrari World hairpin without Danny having the DRS heading down that straight as they make their way through around the first sector. It's going to be absolute pandemonium, folks. 6 laps of magic still to remain, but Antoine very keenly does have a lap younger tyres on. Will that make the difference?
Yeah, that's a big question mark, as now Connor also gets a penalty way down the order. But Ronha, I think as soon as Antoine got into P2, he picked up the pace. The gap was 3.9. It grew a bit to 4.4. Now it's down a bit, 4.3, 4.2 seconds the gap between Antoine and Ronha. Ronha just trying to hold the gap and not making it 3 seconds, because that would hand the win over to Antoine. So yeah, definitely something we have to keep our eyes on now, as Dominic isn't losing the DRS to Antoine, but now that might be a bit too late though for the Renault driver, because Antoine is really pushing a 3rd sector. Like I mentioned in qualifying, or like we mentioned in qualifying, that 3rd sector is so vital for your lap time and to actually stay within the DRS. Losing the back end there ever so slightly is Dominic, and really pushing his limits there to stay with Antoine. Just look at the gap. It's just under 1 second there. And now I think getting oversteer once again out of the final corner, that might be Dominic's DRS gone to Antoine, and he really has to push, is doing that as he's applying his ERS button there to the maximum. And I think he might even have the DRS there on Antoine onto the first straight at least, and then pretty sure also onto the second straight. But gap coming down at the front, and Sparks also closing in on Alfie. So we're in for some cracker laps here, George. Yeah,
it's going to be a grandstand finish to say the least. Antoine trying to bring the delta down between him and Ronha. That extra lap of freshness in those tyres is going to mean all the difference, certainly for Antoine, if he wants to try and really hammer home at least some sort of a challenge to the Ferrari currently topping the table. But in behind now, you can see there Dominic and Raceway in the midst of a fight of their own. 0.8 of a second separated them. It's now out to 0.9 now. Raceway not able to plug the gap here on this second straight, heading in now to sector 3 out of the chicane now. And there you can see the Red Bull of Antoine getting closer and closer to the front end of Dominic's car. Actually, Dominic has really been hammering that ERS, and naturally that's not going to help him, certainly in his pursuit of the Red Bull. And remember, everything is in Antoine's favour right now. If anything, Antoine might be conserving his ERS right now, looking to try and bring home a final fight against Ronha. Joker managing to get ahead of Placky, who's now dropped down to P11. Joker on those fresh soft tyres, they're working out for him right now. Sparks has managed to bring the gap between him and Alfie down to 1.5 seconds. He is absolutely flying on that softer compound. Those mediums are going to start to feel a little little bit slick, a little bit icy, a little bit treacherous, and that will bring sparks right into this race. We've got 4 laps remaining here now, folks, in this World Online Racing Xbox Tier 1 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix here at Yas Marina. I hope you've all been enjoying your night. Please leave your hat tips for driver of the day as well, and who do you think is going to win this race? Please leave your podium sitters in the live chat.
Yeah, definitely do so. And the gap is coming down between Ronha and Antoine a bit, at least 4.1 seconds. But I think Ronha's managing that. But on the other hand, like you said, Antoine has 1 lap fresher tires than Ronha has, and that could play a crucial part come the end of the race, because that 1 lap could make a big difference here today. So we have to keep our eyes on that. And I think the first victim of the tire situation is Viper again, George. I think, unfortunately. 1.2 seconds is the gap, so he lost the DRS there as Connor is making his way onto the straight and in front of Placky there. But Viper seems to be struggling a lot as Sparks now making his way into P6, overtaking Alfie. What can he do in the remaining 4.5 laps of this race? Can he get to Viper and maybe even able to overtake him? Because Viper seems to be struggling a lot. And just let me quickly have a look at the lap times Viper did. So the first lap time, the best lap time he did on those medium tires was a 36.5. The last lap was a 37.3. So he's losing a bit, 0.8 of a second. But can he get back within that DRS? Because that would be so vital. Like we mentioned so many times this race alone. That would be so vital for him to get back within that DRS. But it's looking very unlikely. 1.6. And the gap is growing.
Yeah, definitely. Sparks, though, is really starting to really chip away at that delta between him and Viper. But the question is, can he do enough in the final 3 laps in order to make a difference? Obviously, the freshness in those softs is going to last right to the end. And so it will allow him to push. But the question is, will he have enough race in order to make that move stick? And not forgetting, Sparks does have a penalty to his name as well. And Viper doesn't. So that could prove a key feature. Sparks, of course, may not go any better than 6th place here today. But nevertheless, a great drive from both Haas drivers, of course. WR Raceway in P4 having an astounding race, has actually managed to get himself within 0.7 of a second of a podium, and you get the feeling that maybe he'll be one of the quicker ones as Danny overtakes Alfie now as well. Raceway getting all kinds of close, and he is conserving that ERS now. Miles, just a little thought whether that maybe Raceway is just conserving that ERS slightly to land one last gauntlet blow on those 2 on the podium front. That we could be seeing that with a few laps left.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was looking at the ERS he has for a couple of laps now, and he's not really using that. So he will always see the light coming on at the back of the Renault and also of the Red Bull, because they're running very low on ERS there. And can he actually get in front? I mean, he's a bit too far away. Maybe he is also conserving his tires at the moment, just not trying to get as close, not having that dirty air that might even cost him 1 or 2% on those tires. So is he attempting to go for a last lap lunge maybe on Dominic? But also Dominic seems to be I mean, I think he's also not really able to get within reach of Antoine there. It's now might be the first time he's actually a bit closer than he was, but just screw that, because he just messed up 1 corner. And just going all the way to the left, just trying to break the slipstream, weaving on the straight as Antoine, and just trying to break the slipstream to Dominic. And Raceway, he's pushing his ERS button a bit, but not really that much as he would maybe need to get within reach of Dominic. And I'll actually salvage a podium from this race.
Yeah, he could well do, though, and certainly he has bigger eyes on the prize right now. He's making his way down the next straight between turns 10 and 11, and you can see this little bit of a tussle between Antoine and Dominic. Ronha, though, in the distance, in the clear, but Antoine is starting to dig away at that delta. It's come down now by 0.5 of a second, and Ronha has got a penalty and Antoine doesn't. That could prove vital at the end of this race. Remember, Antoine has everything to gain from this because he has not got a penalty and Ronha has. If he can get the delta within 3 seconds, you'd fancy him to take the win here. So that's a key thing we did not think about. Obviously, with 2 laps left, Antoine has a different kind of race on his lap right now. He needs to push. He's brought it down to 3.2 miles. He's flying.
They're both flying. I mean, Ronha was flying the laps before, but now Antoine is fighting back, and they're both actually very close to their second to a penalty. Ronha to his second and Antoine to his first. So have to keep our eyes on that as well. But what can Antoine do? Can he close the gap without even having to look behind? Because Dominic seems to be struggling a bit on those medium tires now. But so is Ronha, and that was the point we were talking about earlier. The one lap fresher tires might make the difference here right now, because Ronha isn't really able to push, but Antoine is. So that might make the difference here today. Lap 27 out of 28. Can Antoine close the gap 3.5 seconds? So Antoine is shrinking the gap down in the third sector, where tires are very important, but on the straights it seems to be Ronha is a bit of a rocket ship.
Yeah, well,
now comes Dominic, maybe.
Yeah, and here comes Raceway as well. He's coming into the midst of it. A three-way tussle now as Dominic looks wide, and that's going to cost him, if anything, and open up Raceway for a potential challenge for that P3 spot. Podium on the line here, folks, as now we're watching these three cascade through the final sector. Ronha still owns top spot for now. He's managed to lumber at least another 10th on top of the delta time, so Antoine needs to push now. Final lap very shortly. Dominic with a little slide. The grip's starting to fail him on those medium tyres. Raceway getting really close right now. The Haas really starting to come in and try and deal a devastating blow to the top end. Raceway looking to score a podium here in this WOR Xbox Championship as they come up now. A little bit of a shake of the rear end there for the Haas as it makes its way down towards turn one. Half a second the difference as Jonah leaves the session. He is out of this race, of course. 5 DNFs in this race so far as now WOR Raceway rides his way through the first sector. Antoine still on top. Raceway losing a little bit of delta time there. He's trying to save, I think, a little bit of ERS. Remember, he will probably try and utilize it ASAP heading down this stretch now. He needs to try and get somewhat close to Dominic, but of course with Antoine there providing the tow, it's not giving Raceway an opportunity in order to gain on him right now as they make their way down the stretch. Antoine still in P2, might be slightly humbled here though. If Dominic can get any closer, he will have DRS heading down the next stretch. Is going to be a lot more to it. Ronha losing time, 3.1 seconds the gap between Antoine and Ronha. We're on the final lap, folks. Dominic now 2.5 tenths. This could be all up for a victory. Dominic now in behind the Red Bull. The Renault takes the outside line. An unheard of move, but he's got it in the back. Surely advantage Renault. A lock up though brings Antoine into the race. He's a slippery character, is Antoine. Can't get the move done. Dominic, superb move indeed. He looked like he was struggling, but he certainly wasn't. He played dead, but took P2. Phenomenal move, but that sees him forfeit a second gap between him and Ronha. Ronha surely here on the final lap. He comes around the final two bends. WOR Raceway in the midst of a potential podium, but this man, he's done all the talking. He's going to go for 3 wins this season. Ronha wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Dominic comes home, takes a podium in P2 after that blissful overtake of Antoine on the final lap. Raceway, what a drive, stayed right up with them, tried to challenge there and try and take a podium on that final lap, but a sensational drive nonetheless. Viper just could not do it on the day. He had pole position, just could not convert it into a win. But what a phenomenal ending to that Grand Prix. Where did that move come from, Miles?
Yeah, I think he seized up that move for quite some time. He was waiting for that move, and then I think Antoine outbroke himself into turn 8, which opened up the gap for that bit of a switchback for Dominic, opening up the gap for that, and just with a better exit. I mean, we talked about how vital turns 8 and 9 are, and that just showed in that final or on that final lap. Dominic being able to move, going to the outside into that very, very tricky part of the or the first part of the third sector there, and just doing a phenomenal job there, not leaving anything there left for Antoine. I mean, Antoine tried to fight back, but brilliantly done there by Dominic, and Antoine has to settle for P3. When he was looking, I think he was even looking for the victory, but that surely helped Ronha as well to secure that victory. But congrats to all of them, and yeah, very unfortunate for Viper, only coming home P5 as he made it onto pole position, but I think had to do that one-stop race to actually be somewhere in this race. So quite unfortunate for him, but still very respectable result here for him today.
Yeah, what a way to close out that Grand Prix. And incidentally, that is Dominic's second podium of the season, folks. Amazing stat. He's managed to pretty much duplicate what he did at Italy. Remember, he took P2 at Monza at the Temple of Speed, and he's come here to Abu Dhabi and has taken another podium to his name, his second podium of the season, so credit to him for that. But 3 wins, that's for Ronhaar, of course. That's his 3rd win of the season, and the Dutchman will be delighted. Takes P1 here today for Team FRA as well. Dominic in P2, as we discussed. Antoine, the current champion, the world champion this season, in P3. Raceway, what a drive. The Brit takes P4. Viper in P5. Danny P6. Sparks P7. He actually got pipped by Danny due to the penalty. Alfie in P8. Joker in P9. Rossi just scraped in at P10. 2 McLarens in the points. Connor in P11. Placky P12. A good performance from the Tier 2 man who took the championship there this season. Days Rhombus P13. Dark Killer did not finish. I don't think. Well, he finished P14. I don't think he finished though. Jonah did not finish either. Wexro didn't finish. Nor did Bicky and Blackie. Sorry. Nor did Reese Matthew Matthew Reese. Sorry. Or nor did Gnome or Car Person. What a finale though to that extraordinary race. And that's exactly what we needed to see at the end of the day, Miles. We wanted to see a battle between those guys at the top end. It's a shame that we couldn't see Viper do it on the day. We had lots of hopes brought on him. Of course, we knew what his qualifying pace was like, but simply be it, you have to be a lot more than just a qualifying goat, I suppose. You know, when it comes to race, there's a lot more that comes into it than just pure pace, isn't there?
Definitely. And I think maybe for Viper next time, just start a bit further down the grid, because he showed that multiple times this season that if he's starting outside of the top 10, he's a serious threat for all the other guys. So, I mean, getting a pole position definitely is nice, but getting those 25 points in the end is even nicer. So, and even sweeter for him. But yeah, quite unfortunate for him. But yeah, it was a race that came down to the last lap, which is always something we want to see. Ronhaar very close to losing that victory in the end. I think he was. I can imagine he was quite happy that Dominic actually attempted the overtake and made that one stick on Antoine, because that's why Antoine couldn't get the win and Ronhaar secured the win. So definitely a very interesting race, and I can't wait for the season finale here in WOR when we head to Brazil next week.
Yeah, definitely. World Online Racing heading to the finale next week, but we have got the drivers from today in the commentary box with us here for interviews now, and I'm joined here by Ronhaar and Antoine. We'll start with Ronhaar though, and Ronhaar, what an exquisite performance. That's your 3rd win of the season here at Abu Dhabi, and after turn 1 it didn't look like you were going to take it, because Viper seemed to career away from the get-go. You had us all fooled, but you must be delighted. What a win.
Yeah, first of all, GG Antoine and Dominic. It was great fun. It was a good race. Wasn't quite consistent with the pens. I nearly got 6 seconds at the last lap, but I managed to, cruise it home. Antoine and Dominic were fighting, which was helping me to get away. Maybe if they didn't fight as hard, Antoine could have get the win. But yeah, I'm very happy.
Yeah, you must be. I mean, I have to say the pace was extraordinary in that race. I mean, obviously the strategies played out, and it looked like you obviously went for that early pit stop aside from Antoine. And that was a key moment in the race, obviously pitting a lap earlier or so ahead of Antoine. How key was it to get that stop in at first as such? You know, was that always part of the game plan, get an early stop underway, or was it just a case that you were just following your strategy?
Well, I knew the undercut was quite powerful, with the softs being that old and that slow. They were quite slippery, and I knew the mediums can gain on the outlap maybe even 2 to 2.5 seconds. And with the help of the DRS of Blackie, I think it was, helped me a bit of it. And yeah, coming out of the pits, I was already 4 places ahead of Antoine. I was passing the traffic really well. I think that was the main key for me today, just passing the traffic as soon as I can and get away from the back behind. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it was a great drive, certainly, and obviously your 3rd win of the season. Not only that, that's your, I believe that is your, nevertheless, is that your 6th podium this season as well, if you include the 3 third places you picked up in Netherlands, Britain, and of course Austria as well. How do you rate your season? Obviously we've got one more round to go at Brazil, but you certainly have been up there and fighting for the top honours this season. And I suppose you would have liked it a little bit closer with Antoine, but you must be thrilled given the performances you've given.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, Antoine was clearly a lot quicker than me. I wasn't out there with the pace I had. But in the middle of the season, I gained a lot of pace and quality, especially in the race. So the results were there. But yeah, Antoine was just more consistent throughout the whole season. So yeah, he deserved the title.
Yeah, would you say the first two races to Australia and then, of course, when we went to Bahrain, were they the difference makers? Because he picked up maximum points and you were outside the points. Would you say that was the difference?
Yes and no. There were more races that Antoine gained a lot of points for me, especially when I missed the race because of exams. But yeah, I'm happy with what I've done pretty much the whole season, even though the performances I did at the beginning. But apart from that, I think I'm delighted.
Yeah, and thoughts heading into Brazil, what do you think about that as a track?
It's a good track for driving. My pace is pretty okay, I think. I've done a few league races already, T0 and SOC. And yeah, the pace was there, I was at the top. So yeah, I'll try my best, of course, next week again.
Yeah, well, I have to say you were absolutely sterling tonight. Well done on a victory, and well done on your third victory this season. We'll look forward to seeing you next time at Brazil as well. Congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We're going to next interview, our last interview, with Antoine Desalewski. Antoine, pleasure to have you back here. Obviously, I'd imagine you fancied that little bit more. You were so close to getting a victory because I know you were trying to work into that penalty delta gap between you and Ronha on that final lap, but Dominic just came in at the last moment and took that P2 off you and wiped out that chance. But it was a very competitive drive, and it was almost like you were under pressure because when you came out of the pit stop, would you say that was the difference maker, pitting that one lap later?
Yeah, pretty much. I think Ronha gained like 3 or 3.5 seconds, and I came behind traffic, so like behind 3 people and people who still didn't pit. So yeah, that was quite a difference. I was quite low on ERS as well when I pitted, so I couldn't attack like I wanted. And then when I passed Dominic and the guy who pitted like 1 lap earlier than me, I had literally like no ERS to catch Ronha. So yeah, and then coming to the last lap, I knew that Dominic had a little bit more ERS and lower wings, so I knew it was quite complicated to defend against him. So, and as well, I just changed my my brake setting, my load cells, so 2 days ago, and I practiced a bit, but not quite. I changed the load cell settings, so it was a race to get used to it. And I'm quite happy with my quali. I didn't expect to do a 31.9, and especially I bottled like 3/10 in the middle sector, so it's quite promising with that setting. So I'm quite happy with my race. I didn't expect to be on the podium tonight. So yeah, GG to Ronha and Dominic. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a very, very tight race, and certainly the action pretty much carried its way right through the Grand Prix, which is great to see. And obviously it was so tight between you and, of course, Dominic. And then you had Raceway as well in behind, who was applying a lot of pressure. And there was a couple of moments where it looked like we was going to go 3 wide. Obviously, looking at the grid now, certainly for Xbox, just how competitive is it in this grid? Because certainly we've seen it all season where you've picked up some incredible victories. You currently have on the board at this moment in time 5 wins to your name. You were lucky to make it 6th tonight, just about couldn't. But take that aside, just how close is it on a grid such as this?
It's tight because some people is still like playing the game quite a bit. Since like the third race of the season, I'm not sweating as much as I wanted because I don't have that much time. I'm working now, so it's kind of an issue to practice. But yeah, some people still practice, and it's quite promising for Xbox for next game. I'm looking forward to watch the Xbox side on next game. How is it improving? You know, so I know that some people on Xbox will switch to PC as well, as I'm gonna do as well. So. It's going to be promising, especially Rondo. I don't know if he's switching to PC or not. I had some echoes as he's moving to PC, so it's kind of good. So yeah, you are moving as well. So yeah, I was expecting you to be on top of Xbox next game, but you're gonna switch to PC, so it's kind of good for you.
No, I said not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So I won't be surprised if Ronald is on top on next game. He's so quick. He gain a lot of pace. And yeah, you have some new people as well who's coming on top as well. Dominic has found some pace as well with his new wheels, so it's going to be quite promising for next game and for the last run of the season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was going to ask you this actually next week at Brazil, but seeing as you brought it up, obviously looking ahead, obviously I've commentated on you previously racing on PC, and you certainly are a quick driver. Just give us your thoughts heading into that sort of platform. Are you filled with excitement for your first official mainstay season in a PC championship at WOR? What are your thoughts heading into competing with a high quality grid such as that?
Yeah, PC, is the good platform. There is the esport drivers, so you want to challenge them and maybe take their seats. So I'm quite hyped for next year and for next game. It's in 1 month, so it's gonna be quite quick. There's the beta now on, so I'm sweating it a bit as well. So to get used to it, if the L League is not changing when the game is gonna be released. So yeah, PC is the good platform, as I said, and it's gonna be such a challenge to race. I hope in WOR. Because WOR is going to switch to PC as well. And yeah, there is some good names who's going to race in WOR next season and maybe PSG. So I'm kind of looking forward to next game.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be one of the biggest seasons on the game. That's for sure. League racing has never been bigger. And I just want to congratulate you on another podium as well, Antoine. It's been a sterling season for you, and I bet you're delighted. I look forward to commentating on you on PC next season as well. So congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you both. So Miles, that's the end of yet another race, and obviously a lot of excited voices there in that interview room. Obviously a lot of anticipation for PC next season. Antoine de Zalewski looks like he's going to be a huge prospect heading into PC next season as well. I had my eye on him as well previously during the season. Obviously we saw him compete here in Xbox since Australia, where we all started this phenomenal season. And obviously we've seen him in PC on a couple of occasions, or certainly I have in terms of a commentary sense. He is a huge talent, and naturally you would not be surprised to see someone like him challenging the likes of Jana Watmir and the likes of Barry Burramand and the various other professionals that we see in league racing today.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, fingers crossed for him. Definitely. I mean, I always like to see the guys making the switch from Xbox to PC and then actually challenging the drivers like you mentioned, like Jano Opmer, Barry. There is so many quick drivers out there, and to actually try and challenge or compete with them is a challenge on his own. And fingers crossed for him. I mean, it seems like Ronha will stay on the Xbox side for at least another game probably, and then we'll make the switch. But also Ronha is very, very young. We also have to keep that in mind as well. I mean, Antoine is also young, but Ronha is still a bit younger. So fingers crossed for Antoine, definitely. And all the other guys. I mean, there are so many other guys that are making the switch to PC come the end of this game. And so fingers crossed for them as well. I sincerely hope they will do well on their new platform. But certainly the likes of Antoine definitely stand out.
Yeah, I mean, esports has such a great future, doesn't it? I mean, you look at it now, you've got so many young drivers who are looking to make the big jump. And you look at some of the ones we saw today, and you touched on Ron Haar, of course, who is a young guy, but he is competing at the highest level, took a victory today at arguably one of the toughest circuits on the calendar. And I have to say, he did it in great style as well. Over the next couple of years, he could be a real force, as well as many others that are in the grid classification, certainly in various leagues that we see today. Are we on the cusp of seeing one of the most exciting times in esports and league racing?
Yeah, let's hope so. I mean, unfortunately, there are only 20 spots within the real F1 esports scene. Maybe a few more. I mean, they all have reserve drivers and all of that, but the spots are limited. But I'm pretty sure the future is bright, like you said, for F1 esports. So I'm curious to see where we will go with all of that, because there are so many possibilities, like you mentioned. There's so many things that we can do, and certainly look forward to that. And I just can't wait for the future, but also so many drivers coming in at the start of the next game, like Antoine mentioned there. There will be new faces especially to the Xbox scene. Because there will be so many drivers coming in, fresh new talent, and I mean Ron Hart is certainly the man to beat maybe on the next game, but I'm pretty sure there will be others that will and want to challenge him.
Yeah, well, certainly the future is so bright. I'm gonna have to put these on. I think, Miles, I'm going to have to put these on. The future's so bright, you just got to wear shades. See, guys, got to wear shades. But here we are. The end of the season is nearly upon us, of course, folks. We've got one more race left. We are heading to Interlagos at Brazil. I'm going to keep these on because these look really, really smart. But yeah, I look like the Blues Brothers of commentary in league racing. It's a pleasure to bring you all the action here, folks. But yeah, next week we're going to be heading to Brazil for the Brazilian Grand Prix in WR Xbox Tier 1, of course. And it's going to be, nonetheless, it's going to be one final last chance to dance here this season next week. So do not miss it. You're going to be in for a special treat. Of course, don't forget, folks, check out the socials. WOR has a Twitter page. That's WOR League. Make sure you sign up, and well, you can get onto Discord on there. You can interact with the community on there. Get involved and find out what's new in the world of World Online Racing. You can also check me out on Twitter as well. I'm at George Morgan TV. Come along and give me a tweet. Drop me a DM. I don't mind speaking to people as well, and leave me a follow as well. And also, you can check out Miles. Miles, what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle, like the usual, at TSRMiles, just one word, or yeah, just spelled together, all of that. No underscore or anything, just TSRMiles.
And don't forget to raid his inbox. He loves it. He loves it, does Miles. But yes, guys, it's been a pleasure. We'll see you next time.